Well, Doge is out there auditing everything, and Elon Musk is posting on X that he wants to go take a look at Fort Knox. He posted this on X, and he said, oh, and it's gone. It's a meme from South Park. So this made me ask you, what do you think that they would find if they actually do go take a look at Fort Knox? Let's start with Matthew Blackburn. He said, the crate from the Raiders of the Lost Ark. MP, I love starting it off with a good movie reference.
Classic movie reference, and one that says a lot about the way government operates. So yes, we love it. We love it.
They lie replied, Senator Mike Lee wanted to see it, and they would not let him in. Trump and Elon should show up unannounced with a film crew and a gold expert to test for authenticity and go live in prime time like Geraldo. Trump, you can just see it now. Let's see our beautiful gold. You know that if you could get Donald in there, it would absolutely be must-see TV.
The idea of a live stream like the Geraldo looking into the vault is hilarious to me. I think that's a riot. But it also is notable that in real life, I mean, Senator Mike Lee said, as senator, he asked a few times to go, and they're like, nope, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Ron Paul, anybody? Mm-hmm. Like, let's just, the list is long. People want to get in there. They haven't seen it in quite some time. That's why it's such a big topic. Johnny Utah is going to round things out. He said, all I know is if you're pushing for this, you better have a plan for if the gold is gone. That would not be an own the other side moment. That would be a complete and total collapse of the system. Johnny, I could not agree with you more on this one.
I mean, Glenn Beck has been asking, about this too, being a gold guy, as he will call himself. And that is a great point. If they go in and the vault is empty, that could cause a lot of repercussions in the markets and otherwise.
And again, on this show, we have documented what Elon and Doge have done this entire time. And we've been very excited about it. This is the first time where I was like, you know what? Is it a good idea to go in with a live film crew? Because I would think, maybe we peek in there first and make sure that things are okay. Because Peterson, round us out today, because I would hope that we would trust but verify in several different ways.
Yes, an old classic Ronald Reagan quote that my own father used to quote to me about raising his kids, which is trust but verify. In other words, you got to go check. And let me tell you, when I was working years ago on as a consultant, I would look at the flow of money in a lot of the cities in Southern California. And what you began to find right away is the principle is the same as when you're a little kid and you go outside and you start digging up rocks and turning them over. What you realize is if a rock has been there for a long time and it hasn't been moved, you're going to find something underneath it, right? You're going to find bugs or a snake or something underneath that rock. And cities are like this. Government is like this. When you don't verify, when you don't go check, when the rock hasn't been moved, you know before you turn it over what you're going to find. And that is corruption. You just should assume it with 100% certainty. That's the way human life is. The founders understood this. Without sunlight, without the disinfectant, without turning the rock over, you will know what's underneath it 100% of the time. And so when I would see, for instance, when I put this principle in practice, when I would see a city where there's no local media, there's no one paying attention, there's no articles about what's going on, and there's no real transparency, and this has been going on for a while, I don't need to ask why it costs so much to run for city council because I know what's going on when I pick up the rock and look up underneath it. This, ladies and gentlemen, is true of city councils. How much more true is it of the most powerful nation on earth that can't audit itself in any fashion? So I don't think there's any American besides a few dwindling nutty people who is not a fan when they understand what's going on of verifying and not just trusting in these institutions anymore. The time for trust is over. And just normal practice is you have to verify. You have to go in and audit. You have to house clean. You have to go in and see what's going on. Otherwise, the cobwebs grow and worse soon happens. It's a principle of life. And ultimately, no matter what they say about, you're not supposed to do this, or we have these regulations to defend us, or whatever, the principle that Logan Hall actually put up from Napoleon is not about being against the Constitution or the real law, but it's the point that at the end of the day, the whole point of this is to actually save the country. The whole point of this is for the actual good of the country to come about. And that's what the Constitution is for. That's what the laws are supposed to be there for. And ultimately, those laws are executed by human beings who can't just trust, but must verify repeatedly if we're going to have a healthy United States of America.
All right, trust but verify, Ronald Reagan. We can go back to another Ronald Reagan quote, his famous "A Time for Choosing" speech, when he was going out there and going on about the government agencies. And every now and then, you might want to take a look at the scoreboard and make sure that these government agencies are actually doing what they're saying they're going to do, because this is one of the things that we even said at the top of the show today. $4.7 trillion. They had an optional little line in there that said, hey, by the way, tell us where this is going to go to. It was left blank. They can't account for $4.7 trillion. Yes.
And when these kinds of things happen, you have to look at the rotten institution. How do you change that culture? You change the culture because you make clear what the goal is. And this is what Chris Bedford was saying earlier about, we should actually be for America's interests in foreign policy. Sounds obvious, but it's not the case. You have to know what the goal is, and everyone in that entity, in that department, has to know what they're trying to accomplish. In a sports team, if it's a crappy team and the people are kind of just there to make their millions and hang out, and they don't have a strong work ethic, and it's not we are winning championships, right? As soon as you deviate from that for a little bit in the culture, everything else starts to slip away, and that's what's gone on for decades in these agencies. So you have to come in and say, our job is to actually do X. And then everything else we do is going to revolve around achieving that goal. And you have to have the political will to actually want to achieve it. If you just want, for instance, with athletes, if you just want to make the money and hang out and go to the parties, like eventually you will fail. I mean, there's no talent in the world. You will have to put the work in. You will have to have the right goal. And so it's really simple, right? It's really simple at the end of the day. It's, do you have the political will to actually govern for the sake of what you're supposed to be governing for? And you would never even dream then of having trillions of dollars, right, lost and wandering around. So we need to get back to that, and that needs to be instilled in these teams of people going in to these agencies and reforming them.
Yeah, this is the seismic shift that we can feel right now as a country, that this moment right now that we're in is so different than anything else that we've felt before. And it is the America First movement, and it's all part of the mandate.
Yeah, all of this is coming about because this is what people voted for. People voted for exactly what is happening now. And here's the weird thing. One theory would be, well, Trump is going to the right's pushing too far. I see people saying this. The right is pushing too far, and so therefore they lose. They have no concept about how the left won. We're going to push as hard as it takes to finish the job. And guess what? When you do that, you bring more people to your side often. Yeah. And that's what's happening now.
And 45% of people on the left say that they want to move back more towards the center now. So we're winning, America. That's the point.